Pokemon Horizons episode 75 was possibly one of the most heavy and heartbreaking and just purely well-written episodes in like the entire history of the Pokemon anime. I'm not even kidding, it brought me to tears several times. It gave us all the answers and explanations that we prayed for. Like, this episode felt like a movie, bro. So obviously I have a lot to say about it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy hearing my thoughts, and on that note, let's get right into it. The episode began with Rystal at the Crystal Pool telling the Rising Volt Tacklers about what happened between her, Lucius, and Gibeon, the original three explorers, 100 years ago. It's flashback time, baby! We begin by seeing how Rystal and Lucius met each other. 100 years ago, Rystal was running from some criminals who surrounded her and demanded her to hand over her Terapagos, but luckily Lucius was nearby and he intervened to protect Rystal. He threw out his ancient Pokeball, revealing his shiny Rayquaza, and obviously the criminals were terrified and run away. Dude, this really feels like when you're playing a Pokemon game and you return to an early route after beating the game. When you bump into a trainer that you accidentally missed and you stomp their Rattata with your level 100 starter Pokemon. So funny, dude. Also, I like how they kept it a mystery how Lucius got Rayquaza in the first place. The fact that an episode all about answering our questions is still leaving some mysteries in place is really awesome to me. Lucius is amazed by Rystal's Terapagos, knowing it from a legend, and Rystal says that she found Terapagos in the Great Crater of Paldea, and she vowed to protect it from bad people. It's nice to hear about how Rystal met Terapagos, you know? Meanwhile, Rayquaza and Terapagos are bonding and playing together, and it's so cute, man. So adorable. It's really nice to see Lucius as Rayquaza in a calm, casual setting like this. You know, after it being the big scary boss for the whole series so far. Later on, Lucius introduces Rystal to the Scarlet Book written by Heath, and he shows her the stuff about Terapagos in the book. Lucius then tells Rystal that he's on a journey to find a Raqua, the Pokemon Paradise mentioned in Legends. Rystal says that she wants to help him find a Raqua, and that was the beginning of their journeys together to find Raqua. We get a montage of their journeys over the years, mainly focused on Lucius meeting and catching his 6 hero Pokemon. The first was Arboliva, then Moltres, then Lapras, then Kleavor, then Entei. And I have 2 main things to say about this, dude. Firstly, in these flashbacks, Arboliva and Lapras were normal sized. They weren't huge like they are now, so clearly something big happened after to give them that extra power and size. And secondly, Lucius originally met and caught the 6 hero Pokemon in the exact same order that Liko found them in 100 years later. I love that parallel between Liko and Lucius, man. It really does emphasize how Liko is following in Lucius's footsteps to finish what he started. Now it's time to see how Lucius and Rystal met Gibeon. A long time later, 2 random weirdos in a pub begin mocking Lucius and Rystal for their belief in Raqua, and in this scene you get a really good glimpse into the personalities of Lucius and Rystal even more. Lucius is calm and cool-headed and doesn't want to fight, whereas Rystal is hot-headed and tries to argue back. I really love that dude, and I especially understand Rystal. I'd be throwing hands if I was her. But before anything else can happen, Gibeon randomly shows up and whips out all of his research into Raqua, shoving it all in the face of the strangers and shutting them up real good. I guess in the words of people I see on Twitter, you could say that Gibeon gagged them. Anyway, afterwards, Lucius and Rystal approach Gibeon, and Gibeon tells them that he's aiming for the Raqua Paradise too. So the trio decide to form a group together called the Explorers. Gibeon has a shiny Zygarde as his partner, and it comes from an ancient silver Pokeball, one that we've never seen before. So we then see that presumably years later, after a really long journey, the 3 explorers finally reached the Raqua Paradise. And dude, it's so cool to actually see it finally. Raqua seems to be a huge area amidst some mountains where nature is everything. Pokemon live peacefully everywhere. Even legendary Pokemon like Latias, Latios, Terrakion, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, they all live there in bliss. It really is a Pokemon paradise. So the 3 explorers begin exploring the Raqua Paradise. It's in their name, really. And they eventually reach the deepest point of Raqua. There they find huge pink Raqurium crystals. Lucius believes that these crystals are responsible for the Raqua Paradise. They could be the reason that Raqua is so beautiful and peaceful and rich in nature, and Gibeon tries to collect a sample of the Raqurium. but Lucius tells him that they probably shouldn't touch the crystals, they should leave Laqua as it is. Gibeon seems angry or withdrawn from this suggestion, and then shortly later Gibeon suddenly sends out his Zygarde, and he begins trying to take the Rayquarium. Gibeon meddling with the Rayquarium crystals causes the pink Rayquarium gas to release everywhere, and this causes nature to distort and wild Pokemon to become enraged. Lucius and Rystal beg him to stop because he's destroying Laqua, and if this continues it could even destroy the entire world. But Gibeon is too far gone, he doesn't want to stop now. Lucius's 6 hero Pokemon send themselves out, and Lucius emotionally declares that they're all ready to protect the world no matter what the cost. And dude, I got absolute chills in this moment. Lucius and his Pokemon really are incredible, man. They're desperately trying to stop Gibeon and the Rayquarium from destroying the Laqua paradise and then destroying the world. Lucius's Pokemon begin attacking, trying to block the Rayquarium crystals by surrounding them. They're just trying to stop the Rayquarium crystals from expanding and releasing more gas, and to stop Gibeon from using them, you know? But every time the Rayquarium crystals just break free and expand further and release more gas, and Gibeon is becoming more and more amazed by the infinite power of Rayquarium. But then Gibeon's Zygarde ends up betraying Gibeon by trying to stop the Rayquarium crystals itself. It summons thousands of Zygarde cells and cores, and it tries to block the Rayquarium crystals. I really love this, dude. It's not often we see a villain's Pokemon disagreeing with its trainer morally and working against him, you know? And Zygarde, being the protector of the ecosystem, it's the perfect Pokemon to do this. Like, obviously Zygarde wants to stop the Rayquarium and protect the world. Really cool rating, man. I am curious though why Zygarde seems to still be allies with Gibeon 100 years later. I have 2 theories. My theory number 1 is that maybe it's a sign that Zygarde will switch sides again towards the end of Horizons. Like, yeah, Zygarde may have rekindled with Gibeon after what happened in Laqua, but maybe at the end of the series, when Gibeon tries again to get the Rayquarium, maybe Zygarde will then betray him again and join Liko to stop him. Or my second theory, which is a little more crazy, we all know that Zygarde is a really unique Pokemon made up of several other Pokemon, you know, like hundreds of Zygarde cells and a couple of Zygarde cores. So what if the shiny Zygarde that's with Gibeon in the modern day isn't the same Zygarde core as the original one? It could be a completely different Zygarde, a completely different Zygarde core that's with Gibeon now than the one that betrayed him in Laqua was. Maybe the Zygarde that betrayed him in Laqua stayed in Laqua to become its new protector, the new guardian of the paradise, you know? That'd be a really cool twist, you know? But anyway, even Zygarde's power isn't enough to stop the Rayquarium, because the Rayquarium explodes outwards, beginning to cover the entire area, the entire sky with gas. This is where things are really going wrong, dude. The Rayquarium is beginning to take over the Laqua paradise, and soon the whole world, and the entire paradise begins crumbling and earthquaking, and dude, this really is showing the catastrophic levels of power that Rayquarium has. It really has the potential to destroy the whole world. And then, amidst all the chaos, the ground cracks in half, and Gibeon falls into the huge bottomless pit. Obviously, we know that Gibeon survived the fall because he's still alive now, but from the perspectives of Lucius and Rystal, Gibeon just died, dude. Personally, I'm guessing that Gibeon falling into this hole meant he was trapped there amidst all the Rayquarium and the Rayquarium gas for years and years, because we're theorizing that Rayquarium can give you eternal life and make you live forever, you know? So that's probably how Gibeon survived for so long. He was down there with the Rayquarium, before eventually escaping and starting the new Explorers group. But regardless, Lucius and Rystal refuse to give up. They're gonna protect the world no matter what the cost. And clearly Terapagos feels the same way because it suddenly transforms into its stellar form for the first time ever. Stellar Terapagos suddenly engulfs the 6 hero Pokemon in light, floating up into the sky, seemingly combining all of their powers and forming a union, and Terapagos then uses all of its power to form a huge protective barrier around the Rayquarium. Dude, we saw how powerful Rayquarium is, so I can't even imagine the amount of power Terapagos is using to block it off and contain it, you know? Insane, man. However, heartbreakingly, Lucius is trapped inside the barrier with the Rayquarium. He's trapped on the other side, you know? He can't get out. Rystal is shocked and doesn't know what to do, but Lucius has accepted it. In a really emotional and heavy scene, Lucius thanks Rystal and his Pokemon for everything, and he tells them to leave the rest up to him. He promises that he won't die, he'll live on with the Laqua paradise, and someday he'll see them again. This dialogue is really heavy, man. It feels like Lucius knows that his time is probably up, you know? He's accepted it deep down, but he's also trying to to comfort Rystal and his Pokemon, to stop it being any harder than it needs to be, you know? Rystal is crying and screaming for Lucius on the other side of the barrier, and Lucius's final words are him telling Rystal to go on, to live on, and to protect the future in his absence. All of the Rakurium crystals inside Terapagos' barrier then explode. This huge explosion has unfathomable levels of power, but luckily Terapagos' barrier manages to contain it. The explosion seemingly kills Lucius, from what we see, from what Rystal sees. Although personally I still think he's alive somehow. And the explosion also sends the 6 hero Pokemon launching all over the world, and that explains how they're scattered all over the world in Pokemon Horizons. I'm guessing the 6 heroes also absorbed some of Terapagos' power during the process, hence why they grew in size and why Terapagos regains its power when it reunites with them. And finally, Terapagos used up all of its power and all of its energy to contain the explosion, so Terapagos transforms into its pendant form, with Rystal picking it up. And yeah, as we know, it stays in this pendant form for the next 100 years until Liko eventually reawakens its power in Pokemon Horizons. Dude, I can't even begin to fathom all of this right now. So far this has explained almost everything about Horizons. It's given us all the answers we wanted, you know? It explains the 6 heroes, Terapagos' pendant, Lucius's fate. It even aligns with all the flashbacks we got when we met each of the 6 hero Pokemon. This is everything, man. The last 75 episodes of Pokemon Horizons have been building up to this moment. The moment 100 years ago when Lucius, the 6 heroes, and Terapagos sacrificed themselves, saving the world and stopping Gibeon. I'm genuinely stunned by this, dude. I'm not even joking, it brought a tear to my eye watching the truth of everything. Finally understanding how everything connects in Pokemon Horizons. Man, I feel sorry for Rystal though. This poor woman. She lost her boyfriend, Lucius, she lost her best friend, her partner, Terapagos, she lost her other friend, Gibeon. I know he turned out to be a villain, but he was her friend beforehand. Rystal lost everything in one day, on the day that was meant to be the best day of her life. The day that she finally reached the Rakua paradise like she dreamed of. It's just so crazy to think that on that one day 100 years ago, Rystal lost everything. And also, I guess I'll say now quickly, Lucius was such a treat in this episode, you know? Like, putting aside how incredible his design is and how incredible his Pokemon are, Lucius himself was so great here. His personality was awesome. I love how much he loved and adored Pokemon. How he made it his entire life, you know? How he refused to harm Rakua no matter what. If a Pokemon anime was gonna center their entire series around one character, then dude, they chose a great one with Lucius. And yeah, everything here led us to where we are today, 100 years later with Liko. So after hearing about what happened 100 years ago, Liko, Roy and the others are absolutely stunned by the revelations, just like I am. Rystal then tells them that she continued her life after that day and tried to move on because she was pregnant with Lucius's child and protecting that child was her priority. Dude, this is gonna make me cry for real. Lucius had no idea that Rystal was pregnant with his child. He sacrificed himself without knowing he was gonna be a father. Sorry to interrupt, this is me from a few hours in the future. I guess I summoned you guys from the past at the Crystal Pool or something. So after rewatching the scene where Lucius sacrificed himself, it seems that he actually said to Rystal that he wants her to protect our future, aka his and Rystal's future. So that makes me think that maybe Lucius did know that Rystal was pregnant. Maybe he did know that he was going to be a father. So all he wanted was to save the world so Rystal could bring up their baby. And that makes the entire sacrifice even more tragic in my eyes. Lucius using his future child to fuel himself to make the sacrifice? I could cry, dude. Man, Lucius is a legend. Uh-oh, you're being sent back to the past. Goodbye. So Rystal, after losing Lucius, had to bring up her child on her own. Heartbreaking, man. Rystal forced herself to move on and forget about Rakua, because she knew that if people ever found out about it like they did, then those people could finish what Gibeon started and destroy the world. The only thing that Rystal wanted was for her baby to have a happy, healthy life away from danger, to provide that link to the future for her and Lucius no matter what, even if it means not telling the child about Lucius. Friede then asks Rystal where the Raqua paradise is, but unfortunately she doesn't know. She says it was so far out and they drifted on Lucius's Rayquaza to find the way. Rystal then begins to mention Gibeon, but before they can talk more, suddenly her entire body begins glowing in a light, marking that her time in the future has come to an end. She has to say farewell and return to the past. Rystal thanks everyone and says that she's so happy they're all living in the future that Lucius protected. And then she says that she's so pleased and happy that she got to see Terapagos again, her partner. Man, this is so emotional. I had so many tears in my eyes watching this for the first time, you know? Like from the music, the storytelling, and also the knowledge that Rystal is no longer alive. Like knowing she died 100 years ago, and that this little piece of her from the past is now vanishing back to the past forever. It's like she's passing away one final time, you know? But at least she got to find out about the future and about Terapagos and everything and say goodbye this time. Rystal's final words are thanking Liko for looking after her partner Terapagos, and then she says that Liko and Terapagos are true partners. She fades away for the final time, saying Terapagos and Lucius's names. Man, that's heartbreaking. Terapagos screams out in pain and sadness, longing and crying for its original partner. Dude, I don't even know what to say. It's been a while since a Pokemon episode has had me this emotional, you know? It's just so devastating, but so beautiful simultaneously. Poor little Terapagos, I want to hug the little guy, man. And as if she heard me, Liko then hugs Terapagos herself and comforts it, promising Terapagos that she'll stay by its side and help it reach Raqua. And then perfectly timed, Friede offers Liko a Pokeball, and then Liko, with a smile on her face, thanks all of her family that came before her for leading her to meeting Terapagos, and Terapagos enters the Pokeball with Liko catching it. Dude, I can't think of a better way or a better time for Liko to catch Terapagos than this. I know some folks will hate that a new trainer has such a powerful legendary Pokemon as her third Pokemon, but let's be real, this was executed perfectly, dude. The whole story has centered around Terapagos and Liko since the very beginning of Horizons. It took 75 episodes of build-up to reach this point in their bond, and they got the approval of Terapagos' original trainer. This was a perfect moment, a perfect capture in my eyes. I really couldn't be happier for him. So the next day, Diana leaves the group, happy to have discovered the answers she seeked, and entrusting the next steps to Liko and the others. Diana reveals that her mother didn't know about any of this information about Lucius or Rystal, because unfortunately Diana's mother's mother, Rystal, she apparently passed away really young. Dude, they really just had to add this in and break my heart even more. Knowing that Rystal passed away young, knowing she had a short life after Lucius's sacrifice, knowing she died before she could properly raise her own child. Here come the tears again, bro. Rystal did not deserve to die young after everything. I'm just so glad that she got pulled into the future by Liko, and that she got the opportunity to find out all this stuff. To find out that Terapagos and Lucius's Pokemon survived. To find out that Lucius's sacrifice did protect the future. This one is really tugging on my heartstrings. The episode then ended with Liko, Roy and Dot deciding they want to meet Lucius's Entei and Rayquaza next. Meanwhile, the best villain ever, Spinel, is seen at the Exceed Company headquarters. He's theorizing about what Amethio is doing right now, and then Spinel declares that he will be the one to reach Raqua with Gibeon by his side. So overall, I've spoken a ridiculous amount already about this episode. I shoved so many of my thoughts between like every scene while talking about it in this video, and I don't want to hold you guys hostage for much longer by yapping even more. Especially cause dude, I'm recording this at like 4 in the morning and my voice is starting to hurt a lot, you know? It's been a lot of talking. But yeah, I just want to reiterate that this episode was stunning, dude, and so heavy too. It gave us the answers to almost everything. It explained so much. I would honestly say it dropped more lore and bombshells than any other episode in the entire Pokemon anime. Like every single element of the story of Horizons was addressed here. But even with all of that, it didn't feel like just a lore dump fest, you know? It still felt like an amazingly executed and naturally told story with incredible writing and so much emotion and heartbreak. This episode was everything, and that's all there is to say. So, did you love the episode? Did it make you cry like it did for me? Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button if you enjoyed my very lengthy review. Be sure to join our Discord server using the link below if you want to talk about Horizons. And on that note, thank you all so much for watching, and best wishes until we meet again.